Hi guys, Miss Hodge back again to do some baking with you. Today we're going to make banana bread, and don't worry, I'll give you a close-up shot of this at the beginning. This is actually from allrecipes.com. It's called Janet's Rich Banana Bread, so you can find the recipe there too. This is I typed it out like this once when we did it at school for cooking. But I really like it. It's become one of my favorite banana bread recipes, but I usually make it as banana muffins. So let's get started and look at our ingredients. Okay, here we go. This is our recipe. Sorry for the shadow. Banana bread. Get a good shot of that. Now we're going to look at our ingredients. Sour cream. Don't use any milk in this. Sour cream and butter are your liquids. We need butter. There's 2 very ripe bananas. We're going to need flour, sugar, vanilla, baking soda. This is my baking soda. You guys remember we've sniffed baking soda before. It doesn't really smell like anything, but it helps your baking to rise. This is my salt. I am going to add chocolate chips. I make so much of this banana bread, I get kind of sick of it, and I make it in different ways. This batch is going to go to my sons because I made some of this a couple of weeks ago. It's in my freezer. And I'm going to put chocolate chips in it because they both love chocolate chips. There's some of our utensils, very similar to the last baking that we did. And we're going to need some eggs. Here's our bowl. Okay, so the first thing in our recipe, it calls for 1/2 cup of butter melted. Now, you can melt it in your microwave. I prefer to do it on the stovetop because when you melt stuff, butter in your microwave, it spatters and makes a big mess. So if you look at your butter, we've talked about this before in cooking class. Right here, your butter stick is broken up into tablespoon measurements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tablespoons equals 1/2 cup. So we need 1/2 cup of butter. This entire stick equals 1/2 cup. If you needed 1/4 cup, see the handy dandy line? You can cut your stick right there. If you just need 1/3 cup, you can cut your stick right there. If you just need 2 tablespoons, you can cut 2 tablespoons off. It's kind of nice that they do that for you. But we are going to take this butter, we're going to put it in our pan here, and we're going to melt it. Okay, so we have a pan. I'm going to turn my electric heat to 2. I'm going to open our butter stick. This was frozen. I just got it out of the freezer. Maybe I'll kick it up to 3, 3.5. And it's gonna melt. And while it's melting, we are going to do the next step. Okay, now we are ready to put in the 1 cup of white sugar. So we have our sugar here. We have our 1 cup measuring cup. We're going to go in. Now, baking is all about measuring. If you're going to be a really accurate baker, you're going to weigh everything, but I'm not going to do that. All my recipes are for things like this. So there we have a pretty level cup of sugar. You don't want it heaping unless the recipe says a heaping cup of sugar. We're going to pour it in our bowl. Kind of dust some of that off because I'm going to use this for the flour too. Just because I don't get that uptight about using them for multiple dry ingredients. There you go. 1 cup of sugar. And next we are going to add our melted butter to it. Okay, so if we look at our recipe, we did 1/2 cup of melted butter. We have a cup of white sugar. It says here in a large bowl, still stir together the melted butter and sugar. So we're going to add our melted butter to our sugar and stir. kind of look like that, like butter and sugar mixed together. Okay, now if we look at our recipe, it says, combine the flour, baking soda, and salt. Stir into the butter mixture until smooth. I don't put them in a separate pan and it seems to do okay. I just kind of put everything in the wet and mix it all together. So we need 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. Here's our 1 and our 1/2 cup. So we're gonna go in. Let's get our knife so we can level off the flour. There's 1 cup. We're gonna put it in. And 1/2 cup. We're gonna level it off. And that's all she wrote for the flour. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda. This is my baking soda. 1 teaspoon again. It's not going to be heaping like with the baking powder and the biscuits. Leveled off. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This baking soda and the salt help it rise. This is our little bit of chemistry there. We're going to mix it. Getting all the dry ingredients wet. As your butter cools, it will get stiffer. Make sure and get all the dry ingredients mixed in. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get our bananas ready. Usually when I make this recipe, I cut the bananas into chunks. It's pretty good that way, but these are really ripe, so I think I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to mush them. Because you can put the bananas in however you want. You can put whatever fruit you want. I found this to be a really versatile batter. And I have put plums in it, apples in the form of applesauce. Okay, so we're going to take, these are really ripe. They'll be good for smushing with the fork. Okay, we're going to take our fork, smush. Okay, got some nice smushed bananas ready to add into our batter. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to mix this in quite yet because the last bit of the recipe wants you to fold the bananas and the sour cream in. So we're going to go ahead and get our sour cream. And it takes 1/2 cup. This is one of my handy dandy big spoon size measuring cups. I'm just going to scoop. I don't always worry if I get a little too much sour cream, but you do kind of want to push it in, make sure it's filling all the spaces. And get it out of there. And then you're going to fold it in. Folding is basically you just kind of doing that kind of motion. Okay, we we gotta make sure and get all the sour cream spread throughout the batter. But you don't want to be really rough with it. Just kind of gently folding it over and over to get everything mixed. Okay, well, I'm going to stop there because I am going to add one more thing to this. Oops, got sour cream on the thing. Okay, our recipe calls for, you can put a half a cup of chopped nuts. Sometimes I put the nuts, sometimes I don't. More often than not, I'll throw in some shredded coconut, or I'll put shredded coconut on top when it gets toasted. I've put crumb topping, brown sugar and oats and little flour, a little cinnamon. I put that on top. But my favorite thing to do, chocolate chips. I didn't really measure. I just pulled out a bunch from our chocolate chip stash, and I'm going to dump them in. And then we are going to fold those chocolate chips in. When I make this for my wife and I have to do some for her without the chocolate. Since I'm giving these to the boys, I am just going to put chocolate chips throughout the whole thing because I know both of my kids love chocolate.
Chocolate bananas. Who doesn't love chocolate bananas?
Okay, that looks pretty good. We're not going to add any nuts. We're just going to have chocolate chips in our smushed banana muffins. Our next step is, you can make this in a loaf pan. I usually make it in a square cake pan, or I do muffins, and I'm going to do muffins today because I think it's just simpler. You can just eat one muffin and you can freeze them. Easy to freeze. I do that all the time. So let's transfer to the muffin tins. Notice here I have my batter, I have my cupcake papers, I have my muffin baking sheet, baking pan, I have my oven preheating to 350, and I'm going to put the papers in here just as an easier cleanup rather than having to try and pry them out. And hopefully I can put in enough to make an even dozen, but usually I end up going over a couple. Okay. We're gonna put I like to have like a scooping size spoon, and I just take some. It's usually pretty messy. Kind of fill them to the top. Hate when that happens. It doesn't look like I'm gonna make it. I'm still gonna have like 2 extra probably to cook after this batch is done. Okay, they're full. Oven is at 350. We're gonna put them in, and usually I find about 35 minutes is plenty of time. We'll check them. I'll do them for 30 and check them, and then if I think they need more time, we'll set them for more time. And there we go. Check back in when they're done.
Later.
Time is up. And, whoa, there's the blast of heat. I think 30 minutes was about perfect for these. They definitely look done. Stop that annoying timer. Okay, so there you go. Banana bread or banana muffins. It's at allrecipes.com under Janet's Rich Banana Bread. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.